If there was one key change that you could make to your lighting setup that would instantly make your videos look like your favorite video creator or YouTuber, it'll be by adding depth to your video. Most of the people who are just starting out shooting their own footages tend to use one source of light that makes their video look extremely flat, as now you and your background are exposed to the same amount of brightness. However, if you add just one more additional source of light in the background that complements the color of the main source of light, you'll make your subject stand out, and this would add even more definition to your video. In today's video, we're going to talk about this and other 4 fundamental steps that you can use to make your videos look super cinematic. Sounds useful? Let's jump right in. Tip number 1 is to always plan your shots ahead of time and shoot to edit. Now, this may seem very fundamental and basic, but you'll be surprised at the number of times we've seen creators who shoot without a basic storyboard or without a sequence of shot, only to realize that they don't have everything they need. Maybe they needed a few more close-up shots of the product that they're creating an ad for. Or maybe they needed more B-rolls of the location of their travel vlogs. And the problem only intensifies when creators shoot for short-form content like a 30-second ad, 1-minute promo video, or a 5-minute vlog. Given that the video will only be made of a few shots and scenes, and most of it will be shot through your smartphone camera, it's much more tempting to shoot as much as you can and when you can so that you can come home and figure out the best way to edit. But the number 1 piece of advice that any good vlogger, freelancer, or creator would give you is that always think about your edit first. The 3 simple steps that we'd prescribe you before your next shot would be to first write down your script. Now, this necessarily doesn't have to be a dialogue, but just a general description of what happens in your video, like how you're thinking of starting your vlog or how you're thinking of listing the benefits of the products in your ad. If you find it difficult to do this, we have an entire video where we take you through 5 steps on how you can nail the storyline of your video. The second step would be to try and find stock footages to fill in as references in your script. The third step would be to think of the overall mood and pace of the video. Is your video ad going to be upbeat with fast transitions and quick shots? Or would it be more emotional video that touches upon one of your core values? One trick that definitely helps in figuring this out is identifying the reference music track that fits exactly the way you're imagining your video to come out. Tip number 2 on our list is to ensure that you do a recce of the location and gear beforehand. Once you know the kind of shots you want to take, make sure you visit the location beforehand and answer the important questions, such as, do you require natural light? And if yes, what would be the best time to shoot your video to get the mood you need for your video? Based on the position of the sun, what shots would you take first and in what order? If you're shooting indoors like a product video, do you have enough light leakages like a window that will affect the look and feel of your video? Same goes for audio if you're planning to record sound. You'd want to check out for unnecessary source of audio that can't be controlled. Tip number 3 is to avoid handheld footage as much as possible. Handheld footages work just fine if you're shooting videos to post on Instagram stories, but more often than not, they come off shaky, and this immediately draws the attention of your audience to the camera or the person behind the camera rather than the actual video or the storyline. For example, here are 2 simple shots, one taken with a handheld iPhone and the other taken with an iPhone on a gimbal. You can clearly see that the one with the gimbal has come out to be a lot smoother than the other one. This problem intensifies when you shoot things that are in motion or when you want to even do basic camera movements like a pan or a tracking shot. So it's highly recommended that even if you're shooting with just your phone, using a stabilizer such as a basic tripod or a gimbal can make your shots look more professional and steady. The one we highly recommend is the DJI Osmo 4 that you can get for just as low as $130. We'll drop the link in the description below. Now, in the rare event when you don't have access to one, you can try and minimize the shakiness in your footage by holding the camera as close to your body as possible with your elbows folded. Number 4 on our list is to lock your exposure and focus before you start shooting. Exposure is the amount of light you capture while shooting. And if you've left exposure on auto mode, as is the case by default in most smartphones, your phone will keep auto-adjusting the exposure based on whatever you're pointing at. This looks extremely amateur and unprofessional, and even for the untrained eyes, it comes off as unnatural because our eyes are not trained to perceive things that way. So what you want to do is open your camera and tap and hold the point on your screen that you want to set the exposure and focus to. so that you can move your camera without seeing any changes in the brightness or white balance. Tip number 5 is to pay attention to the composition of your frame. For most of us who've predominantly taken videos for personal use and haven't taken a lot of professional footages, the one mistake that we make is that we shoot the subject from right where we're standing or sitting. What this does is that even though your phone's camera is extremely capable of shooting gold standard footage, your video will still not make your audience feel like they're experiencing the video firsthand. The way to fix this is to always ensure you get as close to your subject as required, to fill your frame with your subject and change the angles and shots you take so as to create a super immersive experience for your audience. Also, please don't get up close to your subject by zooming in. This only reduces the quality of the footage, and this also seems completely unnatural since your eyes can't mimic this movement. So instead, move closer to your subject whenever possible and create that natural sense of movement. The last and final tip on our list is to find interesting ways you can add movement in your footages. When you're just starting out to shoot your own footage, the natural tendency is to hold the camera steady and shoot clips or use very simple movements like a pan for when you want to shoot a beautiful landscape like in a travel vlog. However, there are other simple camera movements such as a slide past foreground shot where you can use an object that is in your foreground to reveal your shot. And this was a roundup of 6 videography tips that you can use to make your video more cinematic using your phone or a camera. Did you find these tips to be useful? And which one was your favorite? Do let us know in the comments below. And do check out this next video where we take you through 10 mobile videography tips that you can use to make your videos more cinematic using just your phone. This is Christine from InVideo, and I'll see you in the next one.